So we will carry the torch he has carried, being the light for so many. He taught us well. His light and his legacy will live on. Dale, I miss you so much, but you're with our Savior and resting easy now.
I will go, Lord.
A community gathering to honor a father, husband, and officer who laid down his life for the law.
Continuing our coverage tonight of friends and family members saying a final goodbye to Sergeant Dale Nix.
He died December 30th while investigators say he tried to stop a theft at a Greensboro gas station while he was off duty. All week long, the community has come together showing their support for his family and the men and women in blue.
And we've brought you his story every step of the way, including today when loved ones gathered to remember the sergeant's life and legacy. And to wrap up the somber day, we're bringing you team coverage tonight. Our Sarah Rudlang has a look at the funeral and the emotional, sometimes comical tributes. Our Patrick Thomas has reaction from North Carolina's Governor Cooper, who's also sharing memories of the sergeant.
And later this hour, Rob Wu shows us how people are paying respects all over social media. Our team coverage begins with Spectrum News 1 anchor Sarah Rudlang. She helped cover the funeral services for us all this afternoon and joins us now. Sarah, hundreds gathered across the state for the service today. Really amazing to see that. How did they remember Sergeant Nix?
Brittany, it really was a heart-wrenching final goodbye to that husband, father, son, and hero who spent his final moments doing the right thing, even while off duty. And his brothers and sisters in law enforcement and loved ones say that's just the kind of guy Sergeant Nix was. It was standing room only at Westover Church in Greensboro.
We come together in grief, acknowledging our human loss.
As family, friends, and brothers and sisters in blue honored fallen Greensboro Police Sergeant Philip Dale Nix.
He exemplified the true essence of selfless service and sacrifice. Sergeant Nix embodied integrity, bravery, and a sense of compassion that inspired everyone around him.
Nix was known for his integrity, doing the right thing. It's what he was doing December 30th when he reportedly tried to stop 3 people from stealing beer at a gas station in Colfax.
All of us have a hard time understanding this tragedy. I have heard people ask, where was God? Or why did this tragedy happen?
Nix leaves a legacy of 23 years serving the Greensboro community. He also leaves his wife, Kelly, of 20 years, and their son, Will.
He loved you deeply and fierce. He often referred to you, Will, and him being a team. You told us that he would often say, "It's us against the world."
As a proud team member of DPD's Honor Guard, a peer support member, and a supervisor of the Family Victims Unit, the 50-year-old was synonymous for going above and beyond the call of duty.
The only thing bigger than his smile was his heart for other people. I hope that we as a team can carry on that tradition with everybody else to show you how Sergeant Nix was his team.
A somber reminder to hold loved ones close and a sacrifice never forgotten.
Communications, calling badge 873, Sergeant Dale Nix.
An extremely emotional day for so many, with so much love and support from our community and state. The Greensboro Police Officers Association is raising money for Nix's family through the Help a Hero website. We have a link to it on SpectrumLocalNews.com. Live in studio, Sarah Rudlang, Spectrum News 1.
Sarah, thank you so much. And our Patrick Thomas has been out in Greensboro all day with a casket of Sergeant Nix traveling to his funeral service. So Patrick, what was the atmosphere like, and what has it been like with folks taking time out to remember and honor the sergeant?
Well, I can tell you this, I mean, it was incredible to see the flood of people who came out of the church right after the funeral. Those were coming from all over at the Westover Church. We're talking about his fellow Greensboro police officers, his family, friends, and other members of the greater law enforcement community as a whole. And Actually, our top state official, Governor Roy Cooper, was here today as well. And Governor Cooper says what impressed him most about the life of Sergeant Philip Dell Nix is the fact there were so many. In fact, he described it as more or less endless stories of thoughtfulness, kindness, and compassion about this person. The governor tells me he had the good fortune of meeting Sergeant Nix a few years ago at the Family Justice Center, where he learned about the great work he was doing in the community for victims of sexual abuse, domestic violence, and those so often overlooked in our society. The governor says to see so many from the community come out and show support for the family speaks to the character of this gentleman. In closing, he talked about his conversation with the wife of Sergeant Nix, Kelly, and what he handed the son, Will, that came straight from our nation's second in command. Take a listen.
What I told her is that I can't even imagine what she is going through, but that I do know that the people of North Carolina support her and her family, and that this community, this law enforcement family, is going to be there for her, and that I presented her with a flag that flew over the Capitol in honor of Sergeant Nix. When I met with the Vice President earlier, I told her I had to leave. I couldn't stay for her event because I wanted to come to this funeral. She gave me a challenge coin to present to Will, Sergeant Nix's son, which I did, which he accepted. And I just think that this is the kind, I think one thing they've heard too is people from all over the country have sent condolences to them. This is something that is a real tragedy. He was doing his job even when he wasn't on the job, and that's extraordinary.
In closing, Governor Cooper says Sergeant Philip Dell Nix is exactly the kind of person we need in law enforcement in our communities, someone who is actively and was actively protecting and serving, even if it meant literally laying down their life, which Sergeant Nix certainly did. Live in Greensboro, I'm Patrick Thomas for Spectrum News 1.
Patrick, you said it absolutely correct. We need people like him in law enforcement, and there are so many of them like him that really go above and beyond. And listening to the funeral procession today, he sounded so funny, so caring.
Yep.
I mean, he obviously made a massive impact. And it's important to note that officers don't just go out there and make arrests. A lot of them, like him, go out and help victims through the process of healing and stand up for them, go to court for them in some cases. And they talked all about how Sergeant Nix did that all the time.
Yeah, especially dealing with families in crisis a lot of times. I mean, it seemed like he really cared. Also, there were some comical moments in there. I mean, you know, he was a big Star Wars fan, loved Star Wars. And it was so funny to hear some of the people he led. This one officer was talking about how she would listen to his stories that he would tell over and over and over again and act like, okay, you know, that she hadn't heard him before. So
yeah, and he'd introduce them and tell this like 5-minute monologue about each person, and they're like, you're making us feel so awkward. But it's because they knew he knew and cared about everyone he worked with like family.
Right, and right now we want to take more time out to show more sights and sounds of the day honoring Sergeant Nix. You can also see more photos from the day of remembrance on our website.
Yeah, just head to SpectrumLocalNews.com or download our Spectrum News app, as Sergeant Nix was laid to rest today. Thanks for staying with us. This is your evening on Spectrum News 1.
All units, badge 873, Sergeant Dell Nix is 1042 for the final time. End of watch, December 30th, 2023. Thank you for your service. We have to watch from here. Communications clear.